back, everybody. Have you have some lunch in your stomach? Yeah? Cool. Then you're really energized for next talk. So Cassidy has been on the Steam business team since 2012. Now she's here to talk about the new update to Steam Business. Please welcome, all the way from the US, Cassidy Gerber.
Hi, guys. Like she just said, I'm Cassidy Gerber. I'm here to just give an update on Steam Business. I'm actually here with two of my colleagues, Augusta Butlin and Kevin Carter, which I think he might have stepped out. And we're here until Friday, so please say hi to us if you have any questions after this presentation. So yeah, like our host mentioned, I'm on the Steam Business team. I work closely with publishers and game developers to help manage their PC catalogs on Steam. The talk I'm giving today is an overview of platform growth and features that I think are interesting if you're shipping a game on Steam in 2024. But there's almost nothing in my talk that hasn't been shared publicly on our various developer communication channels. So if there's something you're hearing for the first time today that you want to know more about, definitely stick around until the end, and I'll share a few ways that you can stay up to date on all the latest info for devs on the platform. Before I get started, I'm very curious about who's in the audience today. So how many of you have shipped a game on Steam before? Can I see? Oh, okay, great. So maybe there's a few of you that are maybe new as Steam developers. Can you raise your hand if you are totally new? Okay, cool. So it looks like mostly veteran Steam developers, so some of this stuff maybe won't be news to you. The first thing I wanted to start off sharing is that Steam is growing and users are sticking around. I have some data to share with you about that growth, and I'll tell you a bit about our platform strategies that foster it. We are regularly seeing our peak concurrent users exceed 36 million customers. That's players coming to Steam to shop, play games, or engage in the community on Steam. Our peak in-game numbers are exceeding 10 million. To give some context to that number, in early 2020, before lockdowns, the peak concurrent numbers were somewhere around 25 million. So that's up 10 million concurrent since the start of the pandemic. Part of our mission on Steam is to reach gamers around the world. We invest a lot in making sure we price in the right currencies, accept the right payment methods, and connect our servers close to our customers. As a result of these efforts, we've seen a lot of new users coming to the platform over the last 5 years. From a regional perspective, Asia, Southeast Asia, Central and South America are seeing incredibly strong growth numbers in terms of new users. And getting a bit more granular, looking at growth country by country, Pakistan and India are both growing very rapidly and show lots of promise for the future. Sorry, I didn't mean to move on. Anyway, these are all signals to us that the efforts that we're placing on developing these markets are paying off. Another important part of our strategy for growing users on Steam is making sure customers can use Steam in their native language. We put a bunch of work into making sure the store and the client are localized for our customers, and Steam now supports 25 different languages, and we're working on supporting more. We talk about localization with our partners all the time because of the data on this slide. We find that regularly developers are shocked at their customer base in countries they could have never predicted. Traditionally, a lot of developers in the West tended to focus on EFIGs, so English, French, Italian, German, Spanish. But as you can see, it would be a big mistake to ship a game on Steam in 2024 and not at least consider simplified Chinese. Okay, all the slides before were about users coming to the platform, which is great, but I know you guys are in the business of making games and ultimately selling them to customers. So let's talk about what those 36 million peak concurrents mean in terms of revenue on Steam. This graph looks at revenue over the last 5 years, and there are a couple things I wanted to point out. As you can see in 2020, we saw the huge growth common in our industry as everyone was locked down in their homes, and all we could do was play games. I think surprising to some folks is that we're still seeing sustained growth on Steam, even if folks have left their homes and have more options on how they spend their time and money. They can continue to come back to Steam and find new games to play. Okay, so now maybe you're wondering how you can get your game in front of all these customers I've been talking about on Steam. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about visibility on Steam. Given our numbers and how many eyeballs we get on Steam every day, something that's worth pointing out is we don't sell access to those eyeballs or let developers buy their place in the store. This is for lots of reasons, but primarily, it doesn't serve our goal of making customers happy. Featuring on Steam is driven by customer interest. We feature games based on customer interest, and we've written lots of code with the goal of showing customers games we think they might like. We're always looking for ways to improve our featuring and recommendations. And when we talk about customer interest, it isn't just one metric. Your game might not be selling many copies this week, but if my friend happens to be playing a bunch of Fallout again, I might see it pushed to me in the front page of the store because my friend is playing it. Or say there's some like breakout hit that's specific to customers in Sweden, you guys might see it featured in the store, while back in the States it might not be pushed to me. Okay, so I've explained that we don't sell featuring and that we let customer interest dictate what we show on the store. Sales, one last thing I wanted to mention about visibility on Steam before I move on. I just kind of did a brief overview of that, but we know that it's a very important topic to developers coming to Steam. So we actually have a whole video that digs into visibility on Steam on our YouTube channel, which I'll be sharing a link to at the end. I encourage you to check it out if you have more questions on that. Okay, moving on. Steam Sales and Fest. I've explained that we don't sell featuring and that we let customer interest dictate what we show on the store. Sales and interest are very popular with our customers, and we can continue to invest in them because they drive both new users to the platform, but they help us to keep our existing players engaged. I'll share with you a few ways that you can participate in these opportunities. So, you guys probably know we have 4 store-wide seasonal sales: spring sale, summer, autumn, winter. We've been running these seasonal sales for quite some time now, and customers love them. Our seasonal sales are great opportunities to offer your game on discount and likely reach some players who are interested but have been waiting for the right time or opportunity. Sometimes a deep discount and the excitement of a sale is all they need to pull the trigger on that purchase. Over the years, the sales have evolved from a manually curated event to more algorithmically driven. So we're showing the best games and best deals specific to the customer's interest. The other thing to know about Steam sales is that they are also growing. This graph shows average daily revenue for each seasonal sale since 2019. For the most part, the sales have gotten consistently bigger each year. It's worth noting that this growth isn't localized to just the biggest games on Steam. Games of all sizes see significant sales upticks by participating in our seasonal sales. So we encourage you to factor this into your promotional planning for the year. Let's see. Okay, so we're also, did I mention that customers like sales? Well, we're also hosting 9 additional themed sale events and festivals, which will show up on your calendar on the back end. So over the last few years, we've really embraced the Steam-sponsored tag sale, and we run about 9 of them a year. Here, let me give you the next slide shows sort of what it looks like. So we publish this calendar pretty far in advance, at least 6 months in advance. And you can see a list of the announced sales and sort of figure out which ones make sense for your game. Even if your game isn't released or discounted, the really neat thing about these sales is that they bring customers interested in whatever genre of game the theme is featuring to the store. So if you have a deck builder and a customer is coming to the store purchasing discounted deck builder games, that's really good for your unreleased or undiscounted deck builder game because they're going to be more likely to see that type of game because they've expressed interest in it in the future. So yeah, don't stress if you can't participate in a game because the time, or in an event because the timing isn't right. We'll probably run it again. Okay, so one last type of sale that happens on Steam is called custom sales. They're the Valve-sponsored sales, and we'll be reaching out to you if your game is eligible for one of those. But we know there's a lot going on in the industry. So physical consumer events like Gamescom and PAX, to like industry-driven digital events like Games in Sweden, and there are a bunch of like interesting organizations out there planning activities, and we've got tools for these organizations to plan their own sales. Recently, Fireshine Games and Raw Fury coordinated a Games from Sweden event, and maybe some of your games participated in that. If you have ideas for events, definitely reach out to us. We can point you at the tools for setting up one of these pages. Next Fest. Okay, so if anyone was here for the last talk, I think the Deep Rock Galactic guys were mentioning that they participated in this. It was pretty cool to hear how I think it boosted their wish list somewhere around 300,000 wish listers by participating. We put a lot of work into surfacing games to customers once they are released. But for years, we heard from our developers that they needed more outlets to talk about their unreleased games. So many games that have gone on to become hits on Steam that we never could have predicted. There are just too many great games of all shapes and sizes, and customer taste is too unpredictable. We created this digital festival called Steam Next Fest, which is an expo that takes place right on Steam with developer streams and downloadable demos, all built on top of Steam's core feature set. And it's a big showcase for developers to share their upcoming games directly to customers. So the way I like to describe it is think of an event like Gamescom where you would go and show your demo, except it happens all over the world. And so instead of just reaching customers in Central Europe, you're reaching customers in Thailand and the United States, all by participating in one event. Okay, so I've just gone through a bunch of opportunities for your games to participate in on Steam, and your head might be spinning. So I know it's a lot, and we wanted to make it easier for developers to know about these opportunities and not need to know someone at Valve to participate or to give them a heads up on everything. So we put a bunch of work into making this stuff that I mentioned easier for you to manage as a developer. You should see these changes now, and we're continuing to add more improvements. So definitely check it out if you haven't already, and let us know what you think. We created this calendar and dashboard on our back end, and this is really just a tool for you to develop a sales strategy that suits your game, and we hope you find it useful. Okay, so that was kind of an overview of the opportunities that exist currently. And we work with a bunch of people back in the office, and I'd like to transition to talk about some projects that they're longer term projects that we've been working on and that we're excited about because they're projects that we think will keep our customers happy well into the future. Our guiding light at Valve is to really make users happy and use their feedback to figure out what to work on next. So in January of 2022, we launched an all-in-one portable PC that will let you play thousands and thousands of games on Steam, even the big AAA stuff like Elden Ring. It's an option for customers who don't want to go off the deep end configuring a gaming PC, and you can buy this thing and have access to your entire Steam catalog and your entire library. It's great if you're traveling. I've seen a few, wandering around the show today. So it's a Linux-based device. And we spent years working on this software layer called Proton so that all of the Windows games that you guys are working on will just kind of just work on Proton and on Steam Deck without you having to put a bunch of effort in. So we have over 13,000 verified games, which means we've tried them out, they work well, we're confident in sort of backing them up and putting the sort of Steam Deck verified logo on their store page. And then there are also millions of Steam Decks in players' hands. We did all this work to make your game more valuable. So instead of just reaching an audience of desktop gamers, you now have access to millions of customers who prefer to play games from their couch or on the go. We're working hard to make Steam Deck available in more countries, and so currently it's in Western Europe, North America, and 4 countries in Asia, but we plan to add more going forward. Steam Families. So this is another thing that launched this year and that we're continuing to make updates to. When we started Steam, a lot of us couldn't imagine playing games with our children because we didn't have them or they were very small. Well, now we've got families and big Steam accounts with lots of content, lots of games that we've been buying over the years. And we'd like to share them with our kids. So we did a big overhaul to what we used to call family sharing, and now we're calling it Steam Families. It's really easy now to create a household on Steam and share the games with everyone in it. So Steam Families feature is intended for actual families, and members of the families can be an adult or a child. We have some cool functionality where children can request purchases from the parent. The parent can manage what content the kids can play. It's really just a nice way to share your Steam library with your kiddos. Okay, so now if you'll indulge me, I'd like to talk about a grab bag of my favorite features on the platform. None of these features are really that new, but they're all things you could consider leveraging for your game if you're shipping on Steam. None of these features are required, but they are all free for you to use as a Steam developer. How many of you were here for the fireside chat with Deep Rock Galactic Survivors team? Okay, so they actually touched on several of, they did a great job. I encourage you to watch that if you haven't, if you didn't get to stick around for their chat, because they touched on a bunch of these features and shared how they were helpful for them. So maybe watch it if you missed it. Okay, Steam input. So many customers use controllers to play their games on PC, and that number has been growing consistently for the last few years. Steam input is the feature that I want to talk about because it's a series of APIs and features built into the platform that try to make that experience as native as possible. We want customers to connect to a PS controller or an Xbox controller, really whatever they've got, and be able to have a great experience without having to muck around in the settings too much. And as a PC developer, we know how annoying it can be to support all these different devices. So yeah, this is something to consider. I threw a few stats in here. We've got 6.7 million daily active controller users, and that number increased, 19%. There was a 19% increase in controller sessions just in over 2022. So just an interesting thing to consider as you're working on your next Steam game. Rich presence. As you probably know, Steam isn't just a store, it's a platform with its own social network. As a developer, you can take advantage of this by integrating with rich presence APIs. Some of the most valuable impressions your game will get on Steam are from the friends list right here. I know when I saw all my coworkers playing some game called Balatro a few weeks ago, I had to go see what all the fuss was about. And that's how I make decisions about a lot of the games that I decide to pick up and play. Rich presence APIs offer your game a way to provide a bit more information for this friends list and hopefully compel users to either come check it out or come back. So whether it's a multiplayer game and you want to help your players know if it's a good time to join their friends in a match, or you've got a single player game and maybe it's an interesting time to watch a broadcast of your friend playing, it can be valuable either way. Okay, so I know there's the other talk that's happening right now is a networking talk, like a networking coding talk. So probably the guys that would actually be most interested in this slide are in that talk, but I'll talk about it anyway. If you've got a multiplayer game with latency sensitive traffic, or a game where a denial of service attacks are a concern, pay attention to this feature. Valve has built out a super secure, robust networking infrastructure that any game on Steam can use for multiplayer or online features. It's there for anyone to use with near perfect uptime, high ping, and state-of-the-art security. We built this network for our games initially, Counter-Strike and Dota, so the network is built to prioritize latency-sensitive traffic and protect it from denial of service attacks. We've made this network available to any developer who ships their game on Steam via the Steam Datagram Relay APIs, and that's just part of the Steamworks SDK. This feature is incredibly valuable and is again free, and we really don't know of anything commercially available that is comparable. Steam Playtest. It's super common for games to run betas prior to launch, and Steam has always been a useful tool for this sort of thing, but until a couple years ago, there were some rough edges that needed to be worked out if you want to distribute access to an unreleased game for the purpose of a beta. A few years ago, we formalized this use case in a feature called Steam Playtest, and it's now available for any developer to use for an open or closed beta. And the feature is really entirely self-service, so you just kind of get it for when you set up a playtest on Steam, when we set up a game to sell on Steam. Early access. Okay. Early access is old hat. The Deep Rock Galactic guys were talking about it, but it is still a super valuable feature, and I think it's worth mentioning. We think of early access as a customer signaling tool more than anything, to say that the developer of this game is working on the product and that you as a customer should expect changes, hopefully for the better. Games of all sizes are using early access and their launch strategy as their launch strategy, and there's continued tremendous success in doing so. The feature isn't for every game, but it's a very powerful strategy for the right ones. Okay, so we know that the game's activities don't stop at launch, and Steam Events is the place for you to continue engaging with your community as you push out updates, host live events, or have any other news or activities you want to share with your community. It's pretty cool because you create a single Steam event and it's automatically populated through multiple touch points on Steam. And so it can reach your customers kind of wherever they're coming back to the client and checking out. Okay, so I promised that at the beginning I would share with you some resources because, like I said, nothing that I've shared today is meant to be like, you know, earth-shattering. All of this stuff we shared before. We have a lot of videos that you can find on our YouTube channel. We have a whole partner portal that you go to set up a game, file tickets, whatever, to engage with the platform in various ways. We have a Twitter account, and then for Steamworks in particular, and then also a news hub where we post out about new features like Steam Families or whatever features that the teams are working on next. So check those out if anything today you wanted more information on. And thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you giving up your lunch hour for a talk on Steam. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cassidy. That was a great talk. And we will be back in a little time at 1:30, I think it is, next talk. So see you then.